Hi, my name is Martín Rodriguez. I'm here at Daphne presenting my work Ehécatl as the wind blows in all directions. This is a work that explores identity in flux, migration, and territory through sound and transmission. This work is outlined for you in this score. As you can see, the title Ehécatl as the wind blows in all directions. The score was written for 4 friends and collaborators, Andy, Ian, Joe, and Rodrigo. And this score explains the instructions that were given to them as far as how to approach the making of the work that's inside the gallery. The instructions read, play the audio recording shared with you in an outdoor reverberant space. Record this interaction between sound and space until you no longer hear the original recording. And then return your new composite recording to the sender. And what we see here is a diagram that I consider a constellation of the sounds that we hear inside the gallery. And each point in the diagram corresponds to a geographical origin of the composite recordings. And as you can see, it works in a circle, some sort of circularity between all the sounds. So that's what I have to say about the score out here. If we come inside, we can experience the work. As you see in the space, there's 5 radios hung from the ceiling in a manner that is floating. And each of these radios corresponds to a place on the map. The way the sounds are being played through these radios are through 5 different transmitters that are here in the space with us today. Behind the scenes look here, we have 1, 2, 3 little FM radios, or FM transmitters that are here, 1, 2, 3. And the colors are just to help me understand which one is going to which radio. And there's 2 more that are set up over here on this side, behind a subwoofer. So 1, 2, there. And these 5 transmitters are sending sounds to the 5 radios that we have here. The way those sounds were made was from a gesture that I made in front of my home, where I had a whistle that was given to me from my father when we were at the base of the pyramids in Mexico. With this whistle, I went in front of my house and blew it as loud as I could in a hockey rink. And I did this because you could hear the sound bounce around the hockey rink. And I thought it was a very interesting sound itself. And I wanted to record an embodied blowing. I wanted to capture my physical self in that space. And I wanted to share that sound with 4 other collaborators. These 4 collaborators were from 4 different locations that I've lived in my life: Arizona, Seattle, New York, and Mexico. So basically the instructions that were given to these friends and collaborators was to play the sound in an outdoor space and record that sound being played in that space until you could no longer hear the original recording, and then to send it back to me. Once I received this recording, I would send it to the next person. and they would do the same thing and send it back to me until I had created 5 different versions of the sound. And so this sound was layered on top of each other. So each time it was sent to a new location, it carried the original sound and picked up the other spaces and territories that it was in. And those territories would then be brought with it in the sound, and that sound would then be shared with the next person. So these layers were being created of the sound, one on top of the other. Once it was sent back to me, I wondered a lot what was the best way to present the work, but what was happening in the end was that each piece of audio was a different length, and I just started listening to them as loops on their own, and they started creating this natural flux in the sound where they were overlapping on each other in natural ways that were just existing on their own temporality. So this really brought home this idea of different temporalities existing at the same time. And I was interested in exploring this idea of past, present, and future. Obviously, future is always the hardest thing to present, but for me, there's a potential of future that's present here. And this work engages in all these different temporalities and also the territories. It engages my identity. It also engages the migration, the different spaces that I've lived in. And then overall, when we're here in the space together, when we hear all the 5 pieces revolving around each other, they create this sort of flux, and it's always changing, it's always evolving. And that's something that I feel that a lot of us can relate with in our own selves, is that we're not the same person that we are, and that we bring with us these different experiences, these different relationships, these different territories from one space to the next. And this work expresses that feeling. This work, I decided to do it completely in the dark, as much as possible while safety was still a concern, to put us in an oral space, an oral with the A-U-R-A-L, to bring us into an oral space where we're listening and putting the sound at the forefront of the experience. It was important for me to do this because sound is a physical sensation, and when we're left with sound at the forefront, we're able to engage with the work from a different sense that we're used to engaging with when we go to a gallery. So this sort of acousmatic space that's created creates this sense of movement and puts us in a space of listening, and listening to the space that's here, but also listening to ourselves. I hope that people are able to listen to themselves when they're in this space and come away with their own connection to the sound. The other aspect about this piece is that it's a sound piece that we move with. So the listeners and visitors can engage with the work by moving from one radio to the next and being able to identify a sound coming from this space, and then moving to the next radio and being able to engage with that sound from that space. But then if you move to the center, all the sounds are mixing together, and you're able to hear and experience another type of fidelity and another type of sound with all these different temporalities layering on top of each other. The name of this work is Ehécatl, as the wind blows in all directions. And Ehécatl is the Nawa word for wind, and it's often associated with the deity Quetzalcoatl. So this work is inspired by that deity, who is also often depicted as a bird or as an eagle. So the whistle that I have is shaped like an eagle, and when you blow it, you hear the scream of the eagle, and that's exactly what we're hearing with these radios, is the whistle that creates the sound of a screaming eagle. Another thing about the Ehécatl is that the way the name is described in Nawa is that it moves in all directions. So it's this presence that's in all directions. And I felt that with the way that the sound of this piece originates with wind and myself blowing into this whistle, that it made a lot of sense for this work, as well as the fact that the sound is being played in all directions of the space. So that was where the title came from for this work. I want to thank you for tuning in and listening to me talk about this work, and I hope you have a chance to swing by Daphne and see the gallery. It's a wonderful space that creates wonderful opportunities, so please come. Thank you.